This is how it should be done.
What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. We appreciate your support in getting us this far. And if you haven't already, also, you can join us as a member. It's right down there next to the subscribe button. Hit that as well. That helps us on so many different levels, so many different ways. So today for Best Albums, man, we got a classic. We got the honor and the privilege of talking to Mr. Von P. Thank you for coming through.
Happy to be here. What's up?
Yeah, so Von has picked one of the best albums in rap history, De.O.C. is Dead. Now, this is De.O.C.'s second album, 1991, setting the stage for everybody that may need to remember quickly. With 3 Feet High and Rising, we had the Daisy Age, and they were not happy per se with how they were perceived, and I'd say more by the mainstream media, because 3 Feet High and Rising is phenomenal. But that being said, Von, for you, when you were first hearing about and learning what De.O.C. is Dead was going to be, what were you thinking? What were you anticipating? What were your thoughts going into listening and getting De.O.C. is Dead?
I was so young at the time that these 91, I was the summer of 91, I was 9 years old, turning 10. So it was more about, like, you know, my older cousins and my older brother and whatever they were listening to and whatever was out. De.O.C. was a little bit more, excuse me, as they've always been. They were never so much like the casual listeners hip hop group versus, like, you know, Tribe was a little, like, to compare them to their family. Tribe was a little bit more for like the common, just everyday listener. And De.O.C. was more like, okay, you got to have like a little bit of a quirk if you're checking out, like, you know, this whole Daisy Age thing, because, you know, especially to this day, image is always a big deal. And with everybody being just like, you know, hard rocks or, you know, at least the guys on the corner or whatever. And they were, you know, they were a little different. They had like the funny haircuts and the bright colors and all of that. And then when you sort of ring, 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 ha, ha, hey video, and like Dave had like the weird baldy with like the, you know, they was on some different stuff. And I was 9 and I just said, okay, I would remember Buddy and thinking Buddy was an amazing song, but I didn't have my own money to buy tapes or anything. When that album was coming out, I could tell you, you know, like I said, I was 9 years old, didn't have my own money. I saw it on the bootlegger table with like the $4 cassettes. And begged my mom, hey, it's just $4. It's just $4. Can I get this? And my mom is really not super religious. She's religious, but she's not big on the whole morbid death whole kind of thing. So she was like, I'm not buying you a tape with Dead on it. I was like, no, this is De.O.C. They're fun, you know. So I got it and didn't understand it at 9 years old, to be honest. And it hit me like 2-3 years later. But when it first came out, I was like, I don't get it, but it's a lot of skits and these guys are having fun and they're laughing in between songs. But when I was old enough to really get it, it engulfed me. It was like a world. I was in De.O.C.'s world. I guess I would compare it to like a comic book lover where you just get sucked up into the world. And I felt like I was one of those kids on the playground wanting the tape, and then the bullies come and grab the tape and throw it in the boombox and start listening to the album. And I'm like, do they really have a donut shop? And just like I said, I was sucked into the world. And that's why I'm here, how I am today, and how we ended up as my group making an album called Brooklyn Addy. And just everything I do, I try to create a world within these albums and within these projects. I've never been a singles guy. I've always been a whole album guy, and it's because of De.O.C. is Dead. And hopefully I didn't answer every question you have just now.
No,
but
I got many, because this is one of my favorite albums. I know it very well. But speaking of Ring Ring, Ha Ha, Hey Hey, since that was the first song and the first single, and obviously listening at 9 compared to listening to it at 12 or as you grew and became an adult, That's a very specific world and a reaction to their fame and their success and people trying to get with them and all this, kind of the negativity of being a celebrity and everybody trying to get at you to get put on. As you understood that, and then as you yourself progressed into the music industry and started learning how things, maybe your perception versus reality, at least in your experience, what was the evolution of your thoughts and your feelings on that song and what it meant to you?
Let me nerd out a little extra real quick. I wanted a playlist on my phone. I made a playlist with a bunch of Impeach the President, a bunch of songs that have Impeach the President as the sample, and Ring 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 is one of them. So I was playing my Impeach the President playlist the other day. Ring 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 came on. This was like 2-3 days ago, and I said to myself, man, what a blessing it is to go from being a kid, hearing this song and just thinking it sounded good, to literally being able to relate to this song myself. Because there are plenty of us that are De La fans that have not necessarily gone through that. But I was thinking about the part when Maceo said, Yo G, Pasta's order producing. And like, I've been through that when I'll be on tour with Tanya Morgan, when it was the three of us, we were a trio, and somebody might be talking to Ilias and he's like, Vaughn does the beats, man. You should holler at him with your CD. And just thinking about times like that, and like, yeah, I can see that. I can picture Maceo sitting there being like, oh, word, you got a tape? You should holler at Paz, man. Paz does the music, to like get away. And I've had that experience, and I'm like, oh, they're coming to me. I'm the guy, like when we were younger and you're trying to talk to some girls after the show, and this guy's like, hold on, but I got my demo, and they're like, go talk to Vaughn about it. And so like, I just think it's a blessing to be able to relate to a song from some guys that I've loved since I was so young and didn't understand it and had no idea that I would one day be able to relate to so many things they've talked about, even to the point today of, in their older age, and talking about how music and being on the road and everything affects your family life and life, being able to, your wife wants you home or your lady wants you home or whatever. And like, I've gone through my life being able to relate to De La the whole time so far, and I'm sure there's more that I'll catch in the future.
Right. Well, speaking of catching, throughout De La Soul is Dead, they sample and incorporate Slick Rick with the "And with your wrinkled pussy, I won't be your lover," and they speed it up, or they use
slow
it as slow it down. But like talking about Hey Love, toward the beginning of the album, they have it there, and then they use it at other times. So as you catch these type of things, as you're listening to the album, what extra wrinkle did that bring to you as a listener, as a hip hop fan, as a Slick Rick fan? I imagine all those things.
That kind of thing, that was the inside joke part, where it's like, you hear it the first time, and it's like, okay. But then by the time you get to like Kicked Out the House, and they're like, and it's like, oh, now they're singing With Your Wrinkled Pussy, but they're mumbling it to like a house record. And it's like, I'm in on this joke about 20 minutes later. This is our joke now. And it just blew my mind, because that's how, if you think about this album and why I say you get sucked into the world of this album, it's like, that's how actual friendships happen, where somebody says something this day and then 2 days later they refer to it, and now it's an inside joke. And it's like De La Soul did that with an album. They made this joke on track 3, and now it's this variant of the joke on track 17. And it's like, I'm in it, we're in it together. And that kind of thing, that was just more education for me, just in before I could fully intellectualize it. It was just like, this is how you make friends with your listeners, damn near, And again, man, that kind of thing just sucked me in, and just the whole storyline of like, or we like the donut shop thing again, and the radio station thing, and how they had all these things interweaving, but all a part of one story. And hey, don't you hate when you go to the Burger King and this happens? And even if that never happened to you, you never had like a diss contest with the girl that works at Burger King, but it's still like, but you played the dozens with somebody, and it just, I don't know, but it pulls you into that world that makes you feel like you are in the album, and all of
Yeah.
those little like slick Rick things and all that stuff just adds to it.
And as you referenced Burger King, of course, Biddies in the BK Lounge is one of my favorite songs on the album.
Same.
And I just remember too, that was an early example of, I grew up in Maryland, so I'd be in Baltimore, I'd be in D.C., I'd be all around different places in the area, and I saw that happen. So
yeah.
when you see like something in a Burger King, in fact, so when you see something like that as a fan, as a listener, and then it's replicated in a song or it's based on that type of thing happening, like for you, what did that mean in that specific instance with Biddies in the BK Lounge?
I took a lot of that stuff for granted being from New York. And like you said, like you just saw it happen. A lot of hip hop, being from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, I would listen to somebody like a Big Daddy Kane, or just your who's who of late 80s, early 90s, and they just look like the guys that were outside. And I speak to like Don Will, for example, him growing up, my partner Don Will, him growing up in the Midwest, and him saying coming to New York the first time felt like the hip hop version of like Disneyland or something, where, oh, that's the subway, and oh my God, and they really have on Timbs in the summer, and like it was like he was stepping outside of himself. But for me, I just took all that stuff for granted, to be quite frank with you. It just was like, it was a daily thing for me. And as I got older, I realized, being a fan of hip hop and being a part of it, how lucky I was, because it was just so normal to me. So like, yeah, that whole experience, like, random the dozens in a fast food joint, to like all things you can see in a random old school New York hip hop video, with things that I just saw walking outside. And I didn't realize how important it was to see people that looked like my older brother, looked like my older cousins, looked like the guys outside, becoming a success more than anything, and being able to leave the projects and leave the neighborhoods we come from. And I think that was the biggest thing. Like me growing up and the age I am today, when I grew up, I had so many success stories to look at as a person that was meant to end up making hip hop himself. So I guess I took it for granted, but I got lucky at the same time. Hopefully that I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, with Biddies in the BK Lounge too, you got the male female interaction, you got like super disses, you got comedy, they're incorporating the menu ordering.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's you're in Burger King, you can imagine being in there. But I wanted to get from you, De La Soul are great storytellers, which I don't think they get a lot of credit for, or enough credit for, or acknowledgement. But they also, because they're funny in a satirical or a biting way,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they get a lot of credit either for being funny. But Biddies in the BK Lounge, for instance, is hilarious. So as a fan of De La Soul is Dead, as a fan of De La Soul, why do you think that they haven't gotten more recognition as storytellers or for being funny?
I think today they have I guess it's kind of like, and I'm not the biggest like comedy historian or anything, but it's kind of like when they say, if a kid goes back and looks at a Richard Pryor set, and you've seen everybody else do it, but this is where it started. Kind of like with just Tribe and De La again, we've seen so many people sprout off of what they created. Very similar to I would say even like NWA. So many people have sprouted from this tree that we don't always realize it comes from them. It starts from them. And that's a big part for me with De La. It's like, not only are they great storytellers, but they are world builders. It's like if you picture like the Matrix, when it's just a white room and then like the guns just come out, like De La will put you in a blank room and create the picture. And all of a sudden, you're not just listening to the story, but you're walking with them in the story. It's like, if we talk about, of course, how great a storyteller like Nas, Slick Rick, people like that, and they're like, I feel like when I listen to them, I'm like, what else happened? What else happened? But with a group like De La that paints the picture, which is a little different for me, it's like, it's not what else happened, but it's like, what are we doing next? Not so much tell me the story, but what's happening. I'm in the story with you. And that's how I listen to De La, even with the last album. And they had like the freak, I forget the name of it, but they had like a Western kind of like story song toward the end of the Anonymous Nobody. And I was like, man, these dudes could really do whatever the hell they want and nail it. And that's that. I wish I could remember the name of that track right now, but that one for me was like, once again, they're painting the picture, and you are in it with them. You're not listening to a story, but you're in the story with them right now. And I just think they don't get the credit for it all the time, because we forget how much they've brought to hip hop and just hip hop culture, period. Them and the native tongues in general are responsible for so many people. So many.
And speaking of that, as we've referenced a couple of times, you got Tribe Called Quest, you got them behind you. Q-Tip, of course, is on a roller skating jam named Saturdays, which was a big single. They had a video. One of my favorite songs also on the album. So given that they had Buddy, they had different collaborations. When you heard a roller skating jam named Saturdays and Q-Tip is on it, what did that mean for you?
I just thought it was so cool because now people do it more now. I know it became more like I don't know, just a thing to do with people like Travis Scott you'll just find out who's on the album as you listen. And I didn't know who was going to be on the album because it didn't say featuring, Jungle Brothers, featuring this one and that one. Tip just came on. And when listening to that and hearing it, I was like, wow, these guys just hang out together. And it was cool to find out. I found out from Drez years later that really was the case, that they would all just hang out together when they were making albums. And hey, you want to be on this song? Hey, come in and jump on this skit in the background. Hey, come do like the posse ad libs that we all used to do early 90s. And it would just be, you might hear MC Light laughing in the back of a skit. And then just stuff like that. And I just wanted to be a part of that. I just wanted to be a part of that, man, to be honest. When I was like, man, when I get older, I want to be a part of this. I want to be just a homeboy that's in the studio, and it's like, yo, all right, jump on this song. And just that camaraderie it's something I looked up to, especially when you're at that age where like all those guys are about 10 years my seniors. So you're looking at 19-year-olds, the coolest people in the world, and they're on TV. And like, I want to do that. I want to be like these guys. And clearly that kind of stuck with me.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. And congratulations for making it happen.
Thank you.
Now, we've been talking a lot about storytelling. I think their best story, I think of their career, the best story on De La Soul's Dead is Millie Pulled a Pistol on Santa. So that is one of the saddest rap songs I've ever heard. And it also, as we heard later with Karis One, you got like 13 and Good, Dana Dane with Chester, where we have these songs talking about molestation. It's a very heavy topic. And De La Soul, as they do they blended something seemingly so happy, which is the holidays and Santa and kids being happy and celebratory, versus Santa taking advantage of that position. So from a purely storytelling, songwriting perspective, what's your feelings or your take on Millie Pulled a Pistol on Santa?
It's a super serious song with a super quirky title. If going back to, like you said, if you're just coming in and you pick up the CD and Sam Goody with the long box back in the day, and you're reading it and say Millie pulled a pistol on Santa, oh, this is about to be some silly Christmas song. Not at all. And it's like it's just the approach they took. It's just deep, even down to the idea of what does Santa Claus do? He sits kids on his lap and gives them hope about, and then to take that and be like, but then Santa Claus goes home and puts his child on his lap and in the wrong way. And it's like, just the way they juxtapose that at 18, 19 years old, however old they were, coming off of running around the world, the success of the first album, and being able to sit down collectively and come up with a song like that. It's actually incredible when I think about it more today. You look at so many people that, you're in the middle of your success, early success, new success, and you get that sophomore jinx, and it's just an unfocused, you're just in an unfocused state, just running around celebrating. And a song like that, and being able to do that at 19, I don't know if I could have did that at 19. And just have the focus to like just it's a masterful song, if you ask me. Like the way they tell the story from different perspectives of what Paz is doing, and then Dave comes in and he's like, "What are you talking about, Millie? And you need a gun for what? Your dad is cool." And it's like this denial, and Paz knows what's going on, and it's like it's just this juxtaposition throughout the record. I just think it's brilliant.
And I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's one of the best rap songs ever. And on top of that, I think it deals with, I think in rap, a lot of times songs are very sad, but we also don't see the fighting back per se. And granted, the Millie character unfortunately kills him, as far as that's obviously a terrible thing too, but it's different also in a way of a woman or young girl in this instance taking this power that has been stripped of her, literally and figuratively. I thought was also remarkable because so many times, since most rap is made by men, of course, we get everything the male perspective. The man wins, the man gets the girl, the man is the man is the boss, whatever. And
Man is the man.
And in this one, that he gets that flipped on him in a very dramatic way, which I also thought was interesting. And De La Soul, of course, is three men. So they're giving the woman the power after the woman had been taken advantage of, which I thought also was just like crazy at the time.
Yeah. And I've been accused of overthinking De La records sometimes, but I even look at it like Millie bucked him, and with the quickness, it was over. And it's like, it was over. It's over. It was over. Like the echo, and it's like her going through that was over. The song is over. His life is over. What she'd been going through was over. Like I just saw it was over. And clearly this wasn't when I was 9, but when I got older.
Yes.
And it was like, a lot of things were over when she did that. And again, just like masterful storytelling, man.
Yeah, and that's why I think De La Soul is Dead is such a masterpiece, because just of the few songs we've talked about, you got house music, you got a story about fast food, people doing wrong, you got a Millie song, you got demo tapes, you got just having fun with Saturdays, even though Q-Tip's verse is a little more serious.
Yeah.
It's just all these different things. And then like when you look to like a Oodles or O's, it's still this stuff you got to figure out and decipher if you're willing to take the time to do it. And with like a Oodles or O's, for instance, given that 3 Feet High and Rising had so much of this coded language and stuff you had to figure out, when you were getting that toward the top of the album, what were you thinking as far as like, okay, De La's still going to be doing this kind of left of center type of thing, and Peace Porridge as well?
Early days, I just was like, man, this beat is crazy. Like, I just thought that beat was crazy. The Oodles of O's beat. I still think it's an amazing beat, but that song pretty much opens the door for kind of the overall theme of the album, and just dealing with fame. What I get from Oodles of O's, like when you look at the lyrics, the whole Oodles of O's thing is like, oh, look who it is, like that, like dealing with your new fame. That's how I see it. Like when I listen to Dave's verse, the O is kind of like the Vapors. It's like their coded language version of Biz Markie the Vapors. And Paz took it to more like he was pointing out, circular objects. Like I forget, like the O's let the air in my nose, and O's like my specs and stuff like that. But to me, when I listen to Oodles of O's, I felt like it was kind of like the Vapors kind of record. And they've done that more. I think if I'm thinking about like In Focus on the next album was kind of like that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just like, they find their own ways to talk about dealing with fame, and going into Peace Porridge and having to fight all the time to prove that they weren't suckers, and just all these things that they found their own way of telling us what they were going through, but still in such an abstract way, and in a way that you had to figure out. And if it took you 10 years, 20 years, it's going to keep giving you something if you keep checking for it. And as I went into it, I was like, man, the beat is banging, but I was happy to learn something from it later and then be able to relate to it even later. So it's like layers peeling away for me personally.
Right. Now, most of De La Soul's Dead is very heavy subject matter, even if it feels bright and light sometimes because of the production. But at the end of the album, they got Keeping the Faith. So strategically, as somebody that helps or sequences albums on your own and that type of thing, when you hear De La Soul's Dead and you see a song like Keeping the Faith being at the end of it, subject matter wise, and then structurally, how and why do you think they put it there, and what did it mean for you to be at the end of the album?
Well, I sidebar, I do want to say I kind of wish I think it's called the Straight Pass version, the video version. I kind of wish that was the one on the album. I love the album version too, but I love the video version of Keeping the Faith. And but I guess for I am like the main sequencer of Tanya Morgan albums, and a lot of stuff we've done. Most of the stuff I've been a part of, they like leave it to me to do the sequence. And today I go by it a different way, because with like where attention spans are now, I try to sequence albums more based on attention span, and I'm trying to like hold you. But back then when we wasn't dealing with that as much, I think them putting Keeping the Faith toward the end, it kind of wrapped up the overall story. Like I felt like we were kind of just getting into like life as De La Soul toward the end of the album. You could kind of tie it into talking about Hey Love too, because it's another like somewhat relationship song, and you don't have time for me with your career. But this time it was more like a girl that wants to use you for like your money or your clout or whatever. And again, just more, that's what I took from it. And again, just more of where they were as some 19 and 20-year-old guys, and the music was upbeat, and it was kind of more of a lighthearted way to go out on the album. And that's just a timeless subject to this day. I feel like Drake's whole career is that damn near.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like they want to go out on a light note. I don't know if they felt like the album was heavy when they were making it. Of course it is, but I wonder if they felt that way when they were doing it, if they felt like they had to go out on a brighter note. I don't know.
Sonically, definitely, even though some of the lyrics are a little more serious, of course, keeping the faith, sonically, it definitely has a more bright, quirky sound, I think. And maybe that's why they did it, because so much of the album is so, so heavy. But
Heavy.
that being said, why do you think, or what is the legacy, would you say, of De La Soul is Dead?
Without De La Soul is Dead, you wouldn't have Tanya Morgan As We Stand. I don't believe you would have the TV show Atlanta. I don't think you would have the TV show Atlanta. A lot of the Roots music you probably wouldn't have. I don't know if you would have NERD, Pharrell and them, or you might not even have the Neptunes.
No, sorry if you to interrupt, but if you look too, even to your point, Ego Trippin' Part 2 from De La that we see later on Balloon Mind State, the Roots basically redid that video and what they do. It's like they just did their version of De La Soul's video.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the Roots, they actually remade Millie Pulled the Pistol too.
Yep.
Questside did his version of Millie Pulled the Pistol. I just think, some people say, quote unquote, the black weirdo. I just think, for lack of a better term right now, I'll just say that, like kind of like the black hippie kind of thing. De La put a stamp on it, and in a commercial state, I mean, that's what we have to do. Maybe they might look back at it now and be like, oh, we didn't want to market ourselves that way. But it worked, and it pulled people in and kept people throughout getting to really know who they really were. And then you got them being more who they felt they were on the next album, image wise, and which was De La Soul is Dead. And I feel like it just helped a lot of people from my generation, and even their generation and generations after mine, realize that as a black man, it's just not one way to be. Like, you don't have to be like NWA necessarily. Like the things that we were seeing at the time, like I look at how a lot of younger kids probably look at how they probably looked at Kanye early days. They're like, well, Kanye, he's not like Jay-Z and them. He doesn't have the champagne, although he did, but he has on a backpack and he's talking about college. And then even today, to like a J. Cole fan or a Kendrick Lamar fan or a Chance the Rapper fan, because there's always going to be these images of like the hardcore black male with all the girls around him and this and that. But then you're going to have the quote unquote regular guy, which is more everybody. And without a group like De La breaking through, you wouldn't get that. Things just wouldn't be the same. Now, I truly believe if we was on some Back to the Future shit and got in the car and took out De La Soul's catalog, even with Tribe still existing, Jungle Brothers still existing, a lot of music would be different, and I think a lot of culture would be different. And maybe that's just me as like a obsessed De La Soul fan, but that's what I believe.
Well, there it is. Well, Von P, thanks so much for coming through the best albums, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
It would be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.